Welcome! From me is an ASUS Zenfone 7 Pro, and today I'll go over unboxing along with an overview of this phone. So starting off, let's pop it open, and you can see this is a brand new phone, so I haven't even opened it yet. So the only thing I actually did at this moment is look at the specifications of it online, so I have actually something to talk about. There we go. So let's pop it open. Come on. Oh, there we go. So nothing on the top side of this, so I'm just gonna set it to the side. And then in here, get a fairly neatly presented package, I would say. So let's pop up this side first. So in here we get the cable and the charger. Now the cable is Type-C and it's Type-C both sides. So that's kind of nice. We're already future-proofing, I guess. The power brick is a 60 watt if I remember correctly. So let me quickly just make sure it is though. So it's gonna be right over here. Oh, nope, it's max 30 watts. So you can see it, hopefully. You can get it in the light, maybe take this off. Not sure if it's visible, honestly. But it's basically right over here, max 30 watts. Hopefully you can see it. So yeah, the charger is okay, I would say. It's nice that they made it Type-C, so we don't actually, we're basically future-proofing. For the future chargers, Samsung already started doing the same thing, so I do consider that to be a positive. And that's about it, nothing else in here, as you can clearly see. I'm gonna close this, and now let's go to the second side. So in here, oh, there's the phone. I'm kind of wondering where the phone is actually. So, ooh, that's interesting. So there's just paperwork. I'm gonna set it to the side. Nothing really interesting. But what is interesting is the fact that we have two different cases. So honestly, I'm genuinely blown by this. Now they're all hard plastic, as you can see. It doesn't really flex too much. So same thing here. I mean, there's a little bit more. We have the black one and the clear one. I'm gonna open them both if I can. Go grab it. No, this doesn't really want to open. Oh, come on, really? What is this supposed to be? Oh, it's just ripped, awesome. So, packaging for this is a little bit lackluster considering I can't open it without tearing it apart. But still, there is the clear one, and then the other one is just purely black, as you can kind of see it through this. So I'm not even going to bother opening it up. So, now I'm going to set this to the side so we can actually test it soon. Right, okay, there we go. And let's pop the phone out. So there's the phone. Oh, looks like it's just gonna slide out nicely. There we go. Now the phone actually has a bit of weight to it, so it is a fairly hefty device. Come on, please have juice, there we go. So that's basically all we got in the box. Gonna also set it to the side, and while this is turning on, let's pop the casing on it and see how it fits. And it looks really nice. So obviously they have this kind of like bumper case considering the camera. I'm gonna touch on the camera soon. Let me quickly go through the setup, and also while I'm doing the setup I'll mention a couple of different things about this device. So number one, we do have a what is it, like 6.6 inch display. It's a 1080 by 2400, so basically full HD display. It is also a Super AMOLED display, so we'll be getting a super nice deep blacks. It is also certified HDR10 Plus with peak, I believe, 700 nits. And then on top of that, it also has a 90 Hz refresh rate. So basically, it packs everything that it can. It might not have the best everything, honestly, but for the purpose that this phone serves and the price of it, I consider this more than enough, honestly, at this moment. Now there is also this flip camera, as you can see, so we can test it right now apparently throughout the setup. So that is, I'm gonna press the button while it's upside down, and you can see it just flips it over and does it fairly quickly, honestly. So let's go to next, and there's no other purpose to this, just to test it. From here we have protect your phone. I'm gonna skip this, don't really want to set up any pins. We also have a side-mounted fingerprint. Sadly not under display, so it's a little bit of a shame here. Just skip this, and there we go. We're basically done with the setup. Now also let's max out the brightness so you can see how bright it gets, and it does get fairly bright. So it is actually brighter than I expected. That's a nice touch here. But yeah, finishing it off, it does come with a HDR10 Plus, 700 nits. It also has 84.2% screen-to-body ratio, along with 395 pixels per inch. So rest of these specs were kind of just the typical smartphone 2020. Nothing really special here. But yeah, it's really nice that they included a AMOLED display on it and also have a higher refresh rate. So those are the probably two key components, I would say. Props to them for. Other than that, the front of the glass is Gorilla Glass 6, while at the back we also have glass, but the back glass is Gorilla Glass 3, so it will be more prone to breaking if you drop it, so the back will break easier than comparing it to the front. And then also the frame of the device is aluminum, or however you pronounce that word, aluminum. So yeah, so the device is fairly durable, I would say. Probably also the reason why it has this weight to it. But now moving on to the next part is going to be the cameras. And obviously, as we've already seen, we have the triple camera setup right over here. And that's the only cameras we have here. So as you've seen throughout the setup, let's do it. Okay, cool. So as you've seen through the setup, you do have this flipped camera. And if you enable it, as you can see, it flips over, and well, that's kind of me. So there's the camera setup, and I really like, I can't really say I like it because it probably will be prone to breaking, considering it's a motorized function, motorized mechanism on the device. So it might be not very durable, but only time will tell. At this moment, it's fairly quick and, well, reliable, so I can't complain about it at this moment. But other than that, the benefit of having this kind of flip camera is the fact that when you want to capture normal photos, you just, well, don't do anything. You have the typical camera setup, like 3 at the back, as you can see right here, and simply just start popping photos. So let me just capture a couple of them. And while I'm doing that, I will mention that the main sensor is a 64 megapixel wide sensor. Then we have a 8 megapixel telephoto lens and 12 megapixel ultra wide. So let's go with the first 64, and this is it. And the quality is okay. There is no kind of weird blurring. It did separate the subject really well. I can't complain here. And I would say that's the benefit of not including useless lenses like the macro or depth sensor. The depth sensor is the worst offender in my opinion. So yeah, lack of that sensor basically makes the photos come out actually good. So yeah, here, actually let me quickly also check if I am running it at max settings, the camera I mean. So resolutions, any kind of options here? Camera resolution, oh, there we go, there's 60. Okay, so this wasn't even a 64 megapixels, so let's do it once more. Okay, so this will be the 64. And Ooh, that is noticeably better. But can you stop whatever you're doing? Okay, there we go. This is really good. That is actually surprisingly good. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that kind of quality from it. I've seen 64 megapixels camera, but the quality of this rivals just a normal 64, rivals my macro on the Mate 20 Pro. I actually might say that this is better than what my macro can do, which is way better than I expected in terms of how detailed this is. You can basically see the specific like fuzz on it. Hopefully it's visible, and it is fairly sharp, so you can distinguish it. It looks really detailed. Apart from that, you still have the really distinct kind of blur between the background, so everything that is right behind the plant and the plant itself, so like right over here. So that is really nice. Nothing is really blurry here, maybe a tiny bit, but I can't really complain. Like, for instance, if you look at this, it seems a little bit blurry, but that is just minimal amount, which I can't really complain about, considering just the amount of detail that is on it. So now let's actually move to the other one. So we also have a, like I said, the telephoto and ultra wide, which before it was kind of showing me. So where's the? Oh, I think I can't use it in 64, which is a little bit of a shame. So let's drop it back to the lower one, and yeah, as you can see, the controls pop up back when it's down from 64, so we can now use ultra wide and the telephoto. So this is going to be the telephoto one, as you can clearly see based on the zoom that it provides. So let me quickly try to, geez, can I, ooh, I need to be like way out. Now there's also some stabilization to it, as you can see when I move it, especially at the farther distances. You can see that it is keeping it stable, which is fairly nice. I think it's this one right over here in this case, because it is the one that is moving when you kind of move the phone. So we have gyro electronic image stabilization, so that's nice. And then that looks a little bit weird. So ultra wide, there is a little bit of a weird effect, as you all see right here. So let me get it this way. So you can see that in ultra wide the image gets really stretched, especially at the bottom of it. This is supposed to be circular, and obviously it is not. And it is not the case of the phone being at an angle, as you can see based on the pad itself being basically smack in the middle of it. This is just weird, like, I don't know what it's doing. It is, you can see it just warping the image when it gets to the bottom of the screen. And the same thing happens when basically at each end of the camera. The best part is the main focus point, like at the middle, but everything outside of it gets weirdly warped, and it is fairly weird. Hopefully you can see that just warping all around. So now this, I believe, is something that can be fixed with the software update. It's not the fault of the camera. I believe that is probably how it normally works. I'm no photo expert, but I think this is actually how normally the ultra wides would work. But they get usually they have some kind of programming added to it, so it doesn't do this kind of weird stuff. So hopefully they patch it up and make it look better, because other than that, let's see the photo itself. So the photo itself looks, I would say, okay. There's nothing really like bad about it. It's not the greatest photo. But yeah, the warping of it makes it so much worse. So if they can patch that up, I believe this could be a fairly decent ultra-wide sensor here. But yeah, primarily the 64 megapixel did way above what I would expect it to be good here. And outside of that, we can also shoot videos, obviously. And videos can be shot at 4K 30 60, even slow motion at 120, 1080p 30 60, and also slow motion of 240. Then if you want to go for pure slow motion as much as you can only drop it to 720p and shoot at 480 frames. So you don't have any of that like basically super slow motion, kind of like Samsung does, but it's still fairly okay. But what makes it stand out even further is the fact that it can shoot at 8K at 30 frames. Now there isn't very many things that support 8K at the moment, or displays, unless you are literally made out of money. Then yeah, sure, you can buy a huge 85-inch TV that comes at 8K, or one of those Dell monitors, but there isn't very many like displays that are 8K at this moment. So this is more for a future kind of thing. But you know what, let's go to video right over here, and let's see. So we have full HD, we can change it to 8K, 4K 60, 4K 30, full HD 60, full HD 30, and just HD. Now, I'll mention that if you go with the 8K, this will take considerably more storage space comparing it to 4K 30. Even though it shoots at half a frame rate, it's still going to be twice as big, I believe. I think that's how the math of it you should check out. Assuming it does it doesn't do any kind of like just compression of the video. So I'm gonna just check out the 4K because I think this will probably be the thing that people will use the most, or the 1080p. But if 4K does good job, then well, 1080p should also catch up. So what I want to test with the video here is, number one, the stabilization of it. So if I shake the camera, I want to know how it looks like. And number two, it's going to be just the fluidity of it. I encounter cameras where it just kind of starts stuttering and like skipping frames, and it looks really odd and it's really undesirable. And apart from that, just how it focuses on the subjects. So let's start recording right here. And so right now there's the plant. So honestly, it looks to be okay. Can't really complain about it. Let's go to the gallery and show you the results of it. Where's the gallery? Come on. Oh, there we go. It's ballooning now. Now I will mute the sound. I don't really like hearing myself. So here is the result of it. Now, the first time it did focus, which was, well, somewhere when it switches, there we go, from the plant to this, it did like weirdly, so it focused too far and made it blurry and then came back. But after that, it started doing a fairly okay job. Now, the focus is fairly smooth. As you can see, it is noticeable in certain cases, but for instance, from the plant to here, it was so subtle and smooth that I barely even noticed the change. But then in certain cases, when it focuses again, it does kind of show the focus. Now, it is spread over like a second or so to focus it, but it looks okay. Can't complain. There is no like weird snap into focus instantly, which just makes certain videos look really odd. So the focus here is okay. Can't complain. The video also didn't stutter or anything. At 4K, it looked it looked really good. The stabilization of it was okay. I wasn't really shaking the phone, but it was handheld, which I would say it's not really visible. Once you place it, it does shake a little bit, but it's not doing an amazing stabilization, I would say. You can still see like subtle movement, so it doesn't really stabilize it completely, but it doesn't really show that, like, you know, the hand shakiness. So the cameras are also really good. Now moving on to the last part, which will be the pure specifications of this phone. It does come with a Snapdragon 865 Plus, so basically top of the line right now. 256 built-in storage, along with 8 GB RAM, and it's also expandable via SD card, so you can swap any kind of card. Like I have one, well, right over here, maybe not this big one, but well, the small ones, and it will work no problem. And outside of that, it also comes with a UFS 3.1, so you're gonna be getting super blazing fast transfer, read and write speeds, and that is really handy considering you're going to be dealing with 8K footages when you actually record at that resolution. So this will help you a lot in terms of how quickly it processes that video when it's recording it, and I would consider this a necessity. Now, it is only rivaled by a single other storage which iPhones come with, and it's the NVMe, and that is going to be the fastest. But outside of that, this is basically equivalent of like an SSD on your computer. So honestly, no problem here. It's what I would really like to have, and it is good. Could have been better, but for the price that it comes in, being way cheaper than iPhones, it is more than adequate here. And outside of that, it does come with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 30 watt charger, like I mentioned before. And they advertise that it charges to 60% in 34 minutes, but then it just completely falls off to 100. So in 30 minutes you can charge it more than halfway, but then it takes you 3 times longer basically to charge it to full. So it looks like they don't have very good cooling system here on the battery, and it needs to slow down drastically after the like 50% mark, just so the battery doesn't overheat and explode. Ooh, sorry for that shaky cam here. So yeah, just a little bit of a shame that it starts to like fall off in charging, but it's okay. Now the device comes with NFC, fingerprint sensor on the side, as already mentioned. It also does come with 5G capability, which as the first device that I have encountered is not advertised anywhere, and I don't consider that as a bad thing. So nice that it has it. Also nice that it doesn't really make it like, oh, we have ASUS Zenfone 7 Pro 5G Plus, whatever. It's really annoying, and thumbs up for them to not including that. Also, if you're one of those people that likes to use headphones, still the wire ones, I mean, then you'll be sad to hear there is no headphone jack on this device. You can even block it and show you all around. So as you can see, you only have the Type-C port, speakers, and that's about all you got. So sadly you won't be able to use your wired headphones. But the benefit of it all here is the fact that it comes at $900, or about what is it, like, or like 7 or 8, I think it was like 750 euros. So it is a flagship device that doesn't follow the trend of making the price super expensive at like $1,200. So again, thumbs up for that. Can't complain here. And other than that, I would have to say this is a decent device. The inclusion of the not a one but even 2 cases that they did for your device is super nice. The charger and everything about this device actually is really nice. So I was kind of thinking that I'm going to go into this negatively because it seemed a little bit expensive, to be honest, for ASUS phone, I would say. But for what they deliver, this is a flagship device for cheaper than everything else. I probably wouldn't call it a flagship killer, considering it's still at $900, but by all means it is a top of the shelf device, especially from ASUS, and don't have really any problems with it, honestly. Probably the only thing that I could say is just make the weight a little bit smaller, because if this thing falls, it's losing with gravity with that weight super hard and probably gonna break with the first impact of concrete. But other than that, it is hands down a really good device, and if you're looking for a premium flagship phone, this is one that you could look into. Haven't really seen any problems with it. So that being said, If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.